We're live.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this last Finance Committee meeting of 2021. It's hard to say that, but with that, I would ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Evans,
Present.
Councilmember Harris,
Present.
Councilmember Patterson,
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot,
Present, ma'am.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Introductory number 420 is appropriating firefighters insurance funds. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Introductory number 421 is authorizing.
Mr.
Oh, I'm
Chair,
sorry.
the clerk will enter. The clerk will
Sorry.
enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That'll be my last time doing that. I promise. Introductory number 421, authorizing an agreement for the provision of lease accounting software. Question, comments, or
Move it.
concerns? Been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it. Madam Clerk?
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 422 is amending the 2021-22 budget to fund NWBE staff and public works contractor hiring incentives. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Just a comment. Just want to say thank you to the administration for looking to implement this. This is a program that's been around forever and has never really been fully or appropriately utilized. So it's nice to see that the administration has given it some thought and is trying to find a way to implement it. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments on 422? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposition? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk?
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 423 is appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds to the parking fund. Questions, comments, or concerns? Entertain a motion.
Move it.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 424 is authorizing an agreement and amending the 21-22 budget relating to the Financial Empowerment Centers Initiative. Questions, comments, concerns?
Move it.
And moves. There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye. Ayes have it.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 425 is authorizing an agreement for the Freedom of Information Law records request tracking software services. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Just a comment, and I'll be reaching out to the administration on this. Will Cleveland had a tweet not too long ago about a FOIL request related to a press conference where we announced a seizure of drugs, but we didn't share the names or the locations of the arrests. Can somebody explain to me why we would have a press conference but not share any pertinent information?
I can jump on that, council member, unless RPD wants to jump in. Hearing nothing. The concerns were that some of the details that Mr. Cleveland was looking for could potentially interfere with continuing ongoing investigations. So I don't want to speak about that in more length now, but I'm sure that I can make myself available to talk to you and other members of council. I'm sure RPD can too.
Okay, great. Because I mean, my concern kind of is more a process concern, which is, well, if you can't tell anybody anything, why'd you have a press conference?
Yep, I hear those concerns.
Okay, because I mean, because, you know, you kind of created a foilable situation in an environment. So, you know, I'm glad we're doing this software, but, you know, are we engaging in the forethought to avoid these situations ahead of time? And I'll
Yep,
just leave it.
happy to set up a call to talk about that.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anything else on 425? I mean, I'm sorry, 425. Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
Been moved. There a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. Introductory number 455 is a local law amending the city charter with respect to the salary of the mayor.
Excuse me,
Questions?
Mr. Chair.
I did it again.
No, that's okay. That's
Go
okay.
ahead. Go ahead.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's some background noise that someone may need to mute. Someone may need to mute themselves.
Probably me that time.
Introductory number 455 is a local law amending the city charter with respect to the salary of the mayor. Questions, comments, or concerns?
I do have a question on this item. Could someone speak to and I know in the past we've done this, but can someone speak to why we're doing this again? What's the thinking behind it?
Mr. Budget Director?
Yes, sorry, I was trying to get the paint on mute. So the salary is set by council in the charter. So the last time the council, this typically follows the mayoral election cycle. So the last time the salary was set was in 2017. So the cycle comes back around again. So it's time to review this and reset it for the next 4 years.
Did we, in that 4 years ago, and forgive me for not remembering, but did we also hold the council salaries static too?
We did. So again, typically it's held flat in the last year of the mayor's term to the first year. And then there's a CPI adjustment for the subsequent 3 years with a cap at 3%.
So
That's been the practice.
So what we're doing with this legislation is what we've always historically done. Nothing new, nothing different.
Yeah, what's different with this is that the mayor's salary, right, is up 2% based on some salary compression issues that we would be seeing in July of 22.
Okay, so but as far as council salaries, nothing new, nothing different, part of the rolling regular cycle of the business we do on council. This is just standard
Correct.
operating procedure.
Correct.
Thank you, sir.
I have a question.
Councilmember Lupian.
So in the legislation, I'm sorry, you know what, I'll wait till 456.
Yeah, is this related to the mayor particularly,
No, I'll wait.
All right, okay, you can wait. Anything else on introductory 455?
Move it.
There a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any noes? Any abstentions? Even though I don't have to abstain technically, I will. Just because it could affect me. So I will abstain from 455.
Who was your second on that? Madam Clerk? I don't think I heard a second. I seconded though.
Did you? Okay, I thought, okay.
It was moved by,
Moved by
It was
Mike,
moved by
but I didn't hear it.
Mike.
There was no second.
That
I
was
will
Yeah.
second.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, the clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 401 into the record with Councilmember Evans abstaining.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll now move on to introductory number 456, a local law amending the city charter with respect to salary of members of city council. Questions, comments, or concerns? Let's start with members of the committee first, and then I'll take other council members. Any
So-
members of the finance committee have any questions, comments, or
So
concerns?
I believe I asked all my questions regarding 456 earlier, but just to reiterate, this is standard operating procedure, nothing new, nothing different. This is part of our cycle of how we do business. Is that correct, Mr. Wagner?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Patterson. Other questions from others? Councilmember Lupian?
Yes. So understanding that this is how we do business, we have lots of things that we do just because we do it. This cost of living adjustment in the year where many of us have suffered income losses, and we're making an exception this year for the mayor, I think it's appropriate that we consider making the same adjustment for council. I wanted to introduce an amendment, but I didn't have a chance to check in with law. What it seems like I would need to do in order to do that is to change the 36,939 to the percentage above. Is that accurate? In order to amend the legislation to not freeze our salary? I'm asking Chris Wagner.
So I thought you were asking law.
You're asking law.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean
Yeah,
to.
Chris, the budget director.
Yes.
So, yeah, I mean, it would be up to council to, again, this is an item submitted by council. So it would be up to council to determine what you wanted that percentage increase to be. If you wanted the percentage increase if you want to amend it and have the percentage increase equal the mayor's percentage increase, that would be a 2% increase.
2% increase. So the legislation then would need to be it's 36,939 with the 2% increase.
Yes, the legislation would specify a higher salary for council members,
Mhm.
and then stipulate adjustments, again, the CPI adjustments going out.
Okay, so okay. I would like to go ahead.
Go ahead. No, do your thing, Marion.
Go ahead, Councilmember Lupian.
I was just saying I'd like to amend it.
Well, you can't, Councilmember Lupian, point of order, Councilmember Lupian, you're not on the committee. So you can't propose an amendment.
Oh.
The only people that can propose amendments are folks that are on the committee. You would have to amend it. You could either on Tuesday or
On Tuesday.
you could put something in writing to let your council colleagues know that you wanted to do that. But technically, only members of this committee are able to vote on items that are in this committee.
Okay, so I guess I'm not trying to do that now, but I just wanted to say it here that I would like to make an amendment, and I will be sending that out over email. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just another quick question.
Yes, Councilmember Patterson.
Thank you, sir. So as we look at the item, I just want to make sure what I'm reading.
We can't hear you, Councilmember Patterson.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
That's better.
So just a quick question. So as I'm looking at the introductory 456, beginning of the year, January 1, beginning of the year, it's going to reset every council member's salary to the 36,939. Is that correct? How does that work? Is that what it does? I'm asking.
Yes, it establishes the council member salaries as that amount, right?
Okay, so, and I hate to admit this, but I've never really paid much attention to what we get paid. So if you're making more than that, then you'll be making less. Is that correct? Or a
No,
better question is, are there council members who are making more than that currently?
the base salary level is that. No one's making more than it except council vice president and council president. There
Okay.
are additional amounts for those positions.
Okay. So this number is not going to lead to this current number as proposed is not going to lead to a loss in salary for any council member. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so no one's
correct.
going to lose any money. The most that might happen is that folks will not get that tremendous, cost of living adjustment.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
So just to clarify, that is the number that we're setting it at is the current amount that council members receive.
Yes.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Anything else on 4, 5, 6?
Move it.
There's a second? Seconded by Councilmember Harris, moved by Councilmember Patterson. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 460 is approving appointments to the New American Advisory Council. Questions, comments, or concerns? I just want to make sure that we got it figured out with the terms. I know everybody would have been expiring all at the same time. Can someone remind me what the answer was to that question?
Right now, it's a 2-year term. We can certainly change that and stagger people, but my experience has been that people don't term off at the same time.
Right, that's fine. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments on 460? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Oh, wait. We got to move it. Right?
Oh, I'm sorry. I need a motion in a second.
Move it.
Thank you. Second. Seconded by Vice President. Now all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 461 is authorizing a memorandum of understanding and appropriating American Rescue Plan Act and state funds for the Joseph A. Floriano Rochester Riverside Convention Center expansion project. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Just a comment.
Yes.
When I first looked at this, I had some concerns, and my main concern being, why would we do this deal? And I now understand that we are not, in fact, doing a deal. We're making a pledge to contribute to the capital stack. If they can't fulfill their side of the bargain, the city still retains these dollars. And well, I guess to Mr. Wagner, Mr. Wagner-in-law, would that be correct? Is my interpretation of this correct?
I can, it is correct, Councilman, that is correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Patterson. Anything else on 461? Hearing none, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded by Vice President Lightfoot. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any abstentions? Any noes? Madam Clerk?
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Introductory number 462, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and amending 21-22 budget. As I stated, I'm very supportive of this, but I want to have time to be able to see how we can expand this and also get some more buy-in from the private sector to make a contribution to this, and also have time to also talk to council to see if they would be willing to increase this amount so we could serve more here. So I'm going to hold introductory number 462 with the hope of having this passed in January or February with a larger number of impact of folks there.
Well, just if there's room for some comment on that.
even though I'm holding it, I'll allow it, even if I'm holding it, Mr. Councilmember Patterson. But go ahead.
Well, I hear you, and I guess my request is yes, and I understand you've made a commitment to hold it, and I understand that, but I would hope that we would pass it and pass it now. It shows a firm commitment to the premise and the promise. And the upcoming administration will have the responsibility for implementing it. Everything that you would be looking to do, you would still have the opportunity to come back and do in amending the legislation, so if you want to make it bigger, ain't nobody gonna be mad at bigger brother. But we've got another item coming up that we held last month, and one of the things that I pledged when we held it was that I would not make great the enemy of good. This is good. It could be great, but it surely is good. And it is my hope that we could proceed with the good and work towards the great.
Yeah, I get that, council member. Let me just hold this for now. And if we have subsequent conversations between now and Tuesday, then I'd be more than willing to do that. But I just want to make sure that I get a good understanding on this, because we could have the great. If it takes another month, I don't think that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt us.
And I hear you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we can have great and good. So let's do good and work towards great. But
all right,
sure, let's talk. Absolutely.
We'll talk. Introductory number 463, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds, amending the 21-22 budget, and authorizing agreements for the Guaranteed Basic Income Pilot Program. The same thing I said on 462 also applies to 463. And I know me and Mr. Patterson talked about this again, so I know he's going to say the exact same thing. But I agree. I mean, if we can get this to, my goal would be 1,000 families, and if we can make it great, you have my commitment that I am definitely for that. I want to try to make that happen. And again, if it's December, we do it in January or February, I don't think that that can hurt us. But I think that I want to try to make it great. But I know that we will be able to, just based upon some of the conversations that I've had as it relates to 463. So I'm very supportive of both of these. But I want to have the opportunity to at least, because it might require more of a city investment. And if it does, I want to have that conversation with council. If we're able to leverage some more outside dollars. So that's why I want to hold that. But I'm on the record as saying that I'm very, very supportive of this, and want it brought back in January or February, definitely at the latest.
Well, let me, if you leave.
Go ahead, Mr. Councilmember Patterson.
This is going to sound, like a recording of the last statement, but this is a matter of, this is good. We can do great. You want to do 1,000? That's a math problem. I think we could do the math between now and Tuesday to get you to 1,000.
Right.
So that's something to look at. Again, we pass it now. The incoming administration would have the responsibility for implementation, and amending it I don't think amending it would be problematic. I can't speak for the rest of the council, but if you want to go from the number that's proposed to a higher number, I'm already there. If you're interested in doing the math between now and Tuesday, I'm there. So I think that's an opportunity, but I would, in this case, I would hope that we could have ongoing conversations about it, because this is good. What you're proposing is great. You will have the responsibility for implementing whatever we pass. So
right.
But I'm more than willing to have further conversation.
Chairman
No,
Evans, may I make a?
Yeah, one
make a
second.
comment?
Yep, 1 second, Councilmember Gruber. Yep, and I absolutely agree with that. And my hope would just be that we would have all our I's and dotted and T's crossed, so that way I can submit it I would rather resubmit it all at once with the full amount, with the commitments that could be there, so I don't have to keep coming back. But I get that, Councilmember Patterson. I know me and you will be having further conversations about this. But I want to be clear, I'm very supportive of this item. Councilmember Gruber.
Thanks. And I just want to comment on Councilmember Patterson's perfect, the enemy of good dichotomy here. I think in this particular case, the gulf is a little bit wider, because if you actually, I've been studying all the guaranteed basic income pilots around the country, and most of them include significant infusions of philanthropic dollars. And I think that we'd be making a little bit of a mistake by starting a program like this exclusively with public dollars, even though we have a moment where we have those. I think we need to go out to find philanthropic dollars to support it. Mayor Tubbs in Stockton, who's kind of the guy who spearheaded this stuff, all of that came from philanthropic dollars. I've heard him speak several times at NLC conferences about the importance of getting philanthropic dollars. We can do that. So I think holding it's a great move, and I think we need to all collectively come together as a community and put some more dollars into this. It doesn't just come from taxpayers.
Let me push back on that a bit. And I don't disagree that, look, I'm always in favor of spending somebody else's money. So if we can get somebody else to come in, that's fabulous. But I think sending a very clear message that the city of Rochester is committed to this notion and that it's willing to go first. I think that sends a message to the philanthropic community where we can say to them, this is what we're doing. What can you do to help us get to this higher goal? But I think it sends a real clear message when we go first and we vote to approve it. And again, not trying to change it up now, but taking in consideration what Councilmember Gruber said, which I can't disagree with. I only humbly submit that this supports that notion.
Let's go together, not first.
No, I think it's important to go first. You need to show commitment, and we just disagree. We disagree, but I believe going first it sends a very clear message, and I think that's important to send very clear messages.
Right. So, and I think that this conversation illustrates why I want to have more conversation about the city's investment to be able to serve. So my goal is to be able to serve more, and I just want to be given time to be able to do that. That's all I'm asking for.
Mr. Chair, comment, please.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to encourage us to be mindful that what we're talking about affects people, the lives and conditions of people. And I want us to keep that in front of us as we go through our various processes. And because we could actually extend stuff, we're good at doing that. So I just want that to be in the forefront. How quickly can we do the most for the most?
Yeah, and I absolutely agree with that. And that's why I've committed to, and I've said January or February. So it's December 9th today. I don't think that we need to go much longer than that. I am supportive of this. I'm a part of an organization that did this, that gave $5 million to United Way for direct payments to people. So I understand this. And I think that there are ways for us to be able to definitely do this, because to your point, Madam President, it affects people and we don't need to extend it. And I have that's definitely not my goal. I want to be able to do this as quickly as possible. And it might involve coming back to council and asking for a little bit more. But I at least want to have time to be able to do that. So I'm just saying that for 462 and 463, which we'll hold. We'll move on to introductory number 464, which is authorizing an amendatory agreement for the operation of the South Avenue Garage. Questions, comments, or concerns on 464? I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
It's been moved by Councilmember Patterson. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Vice President Lightfoot. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Madam Clerk?
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Introductory number 466 is authorizing an agreement for the recruitment and selection of a police chief. Questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
It's been moved by Councilmember Patterson, seconded by Vice President Lightfoot. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Madam Clerk.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
You're
And
welcome.
our last piece of legislation is introductory number 467, appropriated an American Rescue Plan Act funds for city employee COVID-19 vaccination incentive program. Question, comments, or concerns?
Comment, I think this is a great thing, and it is my hope that the administration could speak to this so that the larger community will understand what we're doing and why we're doing it.
Thank you, Mr. Patterson. Mr. Mayor Smith, you want to speak to 467?
Thank you. I'd be happy to do that. You know, we are trying to accomplish a few things here, and I kind of maybe dissect this into three parts. The first is the obvious, which is to get folks vaccinated and also boosted. And so I think that speaks for itself. And my objective here is to present council with something that is an incentive versus a mandate to our employees. And it's something that I worked with our partners in organized labor and our unions to make sure that this was something that made sense. And of course, I want to thank Chris Wagner as well and all of our finance folks who worked on this. You know, the second piece of this is being able to get good data. We can make better decisions as it relates to our workforce. A workforce, as all of you are aware, provides essential and critical services to our citizens. And understanding the levels of vaccination within our workforce right now is something I don't think we have as good a handle as I wish we had on. This will drive that data, and so we will know who in the workforce is vaccinated or boosted, and that should be, I think, beneficial from a management perspective. And then the last piece of this, and the third and last piece of this is really, I think, a smart fiscal investment. You know, we are insured as an entity, and our workforce, if we were to have a significant number of folks, for instance, who were adversely affected by COVID and ended up in the ICU for an extended time, that would certainly affect us fiscally. And I believe that this investment in trying to incentivize employees for vaccination and boosting helps in that regard as well. So I really believe this is a good path forward for the city, and it's a way that we can keep faith with our workforce as partners, as opposed to being in a position of enacting and enforcing mandates. So I hope that clarifies where we're at. And if you have any other questions, I'm happy to entertain them.
Yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Councilmember Pio.
Thank you. COVID's been around for going on 20 months now. We've hit the high peak last year, and we've had a Delta variant already as well. We understand if the Omicron variant is sniffles. How many of our employees have ended up in the ICU in the past 20 months?
I wouldn't be able to give you that information.
I can give it to you. It's zero. We have multiple people on city council who are vaccinated who have still caught COVID and had to be out of work. I just don't see how the question here is either we incentivize them or we become the purveyors of employee health information, which is completely wrong in my book. So that was my question. That's all.
Mayor Smith, may I just interject? I have two people that are in ICU right now. One's on a ventilator and one is being weaned off a ventilator.
And there was one early in the pandemic too, right out the gate. There was one who was in ICU for, I don't even know how long. He did recover. That zero is no.
That anecdotal information is out there. I was trying not to, compromise HIPAA or anything related to any of our employees, but yes, we have had employees who have been hospitalized And that hospitalization has been minimal hospitalization. It also has been some significant hospitalization and ICU stays.
Right.
And as we all know, right now, this part of our state, our region, and which includes our city, is having an enormous amount of the rates of infection. And there are a significant number of folks right now who are in the hospital and also in the ICU. And many of those, the predominant number of folks in the ICU and who are hospitalized are not vaccinated. But we're all, I think, familiar with the numbers that have been shared in that regard from the county. So I don't want to get into the specifics of individual employees, because I think we all know that's not appropriate. But this is a situation that does affect us, and it does certainly affect our bottom line fiscally, because we are self-insured. But I also think from a human perspective, we want to do everything we can to protect our employees. Many people, they think of the services that city government provides. Often they think of fire and police services, which certainly are critical, but there are other essential services that can be greatly impacted, whether that's providing meals to kids in our youth programs through tries, or let's be honest, if our sanitation workers who work so very hard in DES were affected adversely in a great number, it would create a public sanitation crisis very quickly if we could not pick up the garbage. So I just think that this is a smart way to preserve our workforce, to keep faith with them, to be fiscally responsible, and also to make sure that we have the very best data possible about our workforce, and we can make good, educated decisions going forward as it relates to managing them. And I prefer, as a matter of policy, to do that in a way that's collaborative and cooperative through incentive versus mandate. And I think I leave it to you to decide whether or not that all of that adds up to a worthwhile initiative.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Vice President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just, I know that this topic, and we at council, we have these conversations on a regular basis. And I know this is a very controversial topic and has really divided our country, our communities, our churches, our families, to be quite naturally. And I just want to say this, just as a point of us not being a part of putting out misinformation, right? And I think that's at the end of the day, I think we all agree on not wanting to put out misinformation. And I think we also agree that we want everyone to be as safe as they possibly can be, however we get there. Now, there was a comment that was made by one of the council members just a few minutes ago that said, some of the council members were vaccinated and they still contracted COVID-19. That to me is part of the misinformation that's being put out into the community. No one, I don't believe, is saying that the vaccination is going to stop you from getting COVID-19. I think what we all can agree, or should be able to agree on, based on the numbers and the statistics, hospitalization rates across the country and the world, that the vaccine has definitely prevented more people from being on ventilators, dying, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just want us to be careful, as Madam President stated earlier, that there are people on the other end of these comments, concerns, and policies, practices, and procedures, and our positions on different topics. And a lot of people have died and suffered as a result of COVID-19. It's a very sensitive topic. But again, as someone who's working with trying to do away with the misinformation, especially in the Black and Brown community, for us to give any type of inkling that the vaccination prevents you from getting COVID-19 is misinformation.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, was that Councilmember Harris?
Yes, I'd just like to add to Vice President Lightfoot's comments. Just wanted to add that, is there any, if anything, we all should be wearing our masks. Just going to reiterate that the importance that we should all be wearing our masks regardless of vaccination status. And I also like to ask the administration, Mayor Smith, is there plans for us to either maybe consider, sending out or passing out additional PPE to the community in anticipation for the numbers increase?
Absolutely. We, as you know, one of the strategies for this has been to distribute more test kits. And County Executive Bello and also Mayor-elect Evans made an announcement yesterday about the availability of more test kits. I know an announcement went out a short time before this meeting began about a program and a plan for us to do that distribution to city residents. We are initiating that. And for your information, that distribution will be taking place at 4 rec centers beginning Saturday, December 11th and running through the following week. And that is part of it. We will be giving out masks along with those test kits. And at the suggestion of council member and Vice President Lightfoot, we'll be engaging with our churches as well as barbershops and beauty salons and other businesses, if we can, to use their facilities and their membership as a means to distribute those test kits as well. And we are continuing to seek opportunities to distribute other PPE. And so absolutely, we are doing that. We're trying to move quickly. And I do want to thank County Executive Bello, Mayor-elect Evans, and everyone who's a part of that for their leadership and allowing us to kind of organize. I think, especially as we're about to get ready for holiday gatherings, being able to self-test and having access to those resources can protect our circle, so to speak. And I'll share something personal with you. I did not believe I was symptomatic on Thanksgiving Day for COVID. And I took a home test myself because I was going to be exposed to a group of diverse folks, some of whom had immunocompromising issues and other things. And I took a test, and that test was positive. And so that prevented me from taking part in that Thanksgiving, the planned Thanksgiving festivities. But it allowed me to protect my circle. And so, I think this is something we need to promote as being a really proactive way to protect each other. And that's a big component of all of us. It's not about me, right? It's not about me. It really needs to be about we, and it needs to be about protecting one another. So we are open to any other opportunities to get PPE in the hands of our citizens. And again, I want to thank Councilman Lightfoot for his suggestion, and any suggestion you have, Councilmember Harris or anyone else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And we're one of the first communities in the country to be giving out in a mass-produced way these test kits for folks. Anything else on the vaccination and incentive program?
Right here. Yes. So
yes, Mr. Councilmember Patterson.
Yes, I would ask that, as it's wonderful that we're looking to do the distribution of these resources to the beauticians and barbershops. It is my hope that we could also be very intentional in distributing these resources to our senior housing complexes. These are large concentrations of folks with the prime comorbidities. And so if we really want to get it where it needs to go, we need to look at our senior housing complexes, our large housing complexes in general. It's wonderful that we're putting out at the rec center for folks to go get it, but the folks who are going to go get it are the folks who have the ability to go get. If we put it out at our senior housing complexes, those are the folks who are least likely to get, for a range of reasons. And I'm sure that if we reached out to RHA, they could do a lot of that work for us.
Thank you.
It's being undertaken through the county and their efforts through the Department of Health. The allocation for us was to kind of reach our general citizenry, but we will loop back in with them and ask that question, either if they can provide us with more test kits, or if they're not already doing that distribution. We'll look into that and get back to you, Councilman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So can I have a motion on 467?
Move it.
Been moved by Councilmember Patterson, seconded by Councilmember Harris. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And then if Mr. Beath, if you can tell me, I want to pull off of the table introductory number 414, a resolution approving the establishment of a $15 minimum wage for all city employees. Remind me of my Robert's Rules of Order. I used to be an expert on this back in the day. Mr. Beath, can I just pull this off the table and ask for a motion, or do I need to get a motion to pull it off the table?
You can just pull it off the table and ask for a motion. It's just sitting there in committee waiting for you to do something.
There we see, my Robert's Rules are still working. So,
I'd like to enter the vote for the last item into the committee.
yes, so before, I'm sorry, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
That's okay. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now I'm gonna pull off the table. Here it is. Introductory number 414, the resolution approving the establishment of a $15 minimum wage for all city employees. That was from the November 4th, 2021. May I have a motion for introductory number 414?
So so we're voting on it?
Yes.
Can I make a comment real quick first?
You sure can, absolutely.
All right, so like I said earlier,
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
I would not make perfect.
Hold on 1 second. Point of order. Are we voting on it? Are you okay? So he said you can pull it off the table and then go to vote. I got you. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so I asked that this item be held earlier with the hopes that we could find a way to amend it such that our lowest paid people would always have a living wage. Conversations with the mayor, Patrick, Chris Wagner, I understand that there is no way actually legislatively for us to do this. It impedes and it imposes upon the power of the administration, and that's not what we're looking to do. But in the course of that conversation, I found that as a council, if we choose to, we can continuously ask this question about the wages of our lowest paid workers and to advocate that those wages advance. And with that understanding, that's what I'll be doing. But there's no reason why doing that should get in the way of voting in favor of this item, which I certainly will do.
Thank you, Councilmember Patterson.
Can I say something?
Any other questions from committee members? Comments? Okay, Councilmember Lupien.
In talking with AFSCME folks, it's my understanding that in the contract, there's already a cost of living for the next couple of years. And what I think we could also do as a council is express our support when doing contract negotiations that they do the cost of living as part of the bargaining benefits.
Anything else on 414?
Well,
one thing for me, Chairman Evans.
Yes, Councilmember Gruber.
Thanks. Initially, when this had been brought up, I think Councilmember Melendez and President Scott were talking about it. I had also proposed potentially weaving in something related to the living wage law that we currently have on the books in terms of the vendors that the city works with as well. And I think it makes perfect sense to move forward with this with those two things as separate issues. But I really would like to ask for the next administration and for our council to consider updating the living wage ordinance that's on the books right now and make sure that it is in line with what wages are these days and what they ought to be.
Yes, thank you, Councilmember Gruber.
And if I can, just a quick comment to Councilmember Melendez's, Lupien's comment there. So Councilmember, for me, the issue is that there are positions that are not covered by a bargaining unit. Those, once you're hired, yes, you have the salary acceleration, but those other positions, those positions that aren't covered by bargaining units, that salary would be left aside. So that number would be 15. So the hope in the conversation, I believe, going forward is about the folks who are not represented by bargaining units to ensure that their salary also increase, which is not an either or, it's a yes and. So
clarifying question. So in your conversations with budget, there wasn't a way for us to explicitly name employees that are not part of a bargaining unit when we do the cost of living.
We do not. So this is a clear demarcation of duties, and I would leave this to law. Actually, I'll share over the email that they sent over, but if Chris Wagner and Patrick Beath could speak to it, the clear demarcation of who set salaries. This is one of those instances where this is not within the purview of council.
And that, you know, the process is that conversation happens on a per annum basis as part of the budget. And obviously collective bargaining agreements, as we know, can drive that for those that are affected, but folks that fall outside of that are addressed through that process, whether they be APT or some of the individuals, I think that in our workforce that Councilman Patterson has just identified quite well. And you know, to the councilman's point, that's a conversation that really should be, you know, talked about robustly as part of the budget, because it is very relevant, particularly to those workers who are part-time and are most affected, you know, by these issues of income. So, you know, that's the answer, Councilmember Lupien. It's a per annum a discussion that happens as part of the budget.
So I guess my question would be, just as we kind of have this legislation that comes through regularly, freezing council and mayor salary on the 4th year of the term, is it possible that we could have kind of the same routine where, you know, we would get legislation before council that would increase the salaries by that amount, so that it's not, you know, we get a whole new batch of council members, it's not on their radar, you know, this is something more systematic?
Okay, I'm sorry, Councilman Lupien. Are you talking about council member salaries right now?
No, I'm not. I'm saying in the same way as the legislation is perfunctory and at a certain time it always comes before us, could we do the same with salaries for employees to give them that cost of living? Do you know what I'm saying? So that if you know, that we don't lose the institutional knowledge of council members, you know, change, that this is something that's more systemic.
Well,
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I don't know if you understand the question.
I do actually. I do understand the question. And so my answer is sort of interesting, particularly given your new upcoming role, Mayor-elect Evans. I would imagine that the current budget department and then going forward in our new administration could very easily provide council with reporting on wage increases across the board as part of the budget, and how it impacts both those who are in collective bargaining agreements, but I think very specifically to include those folks you're talking about. So council would have that information as part of the budget and understand who's getting a raise and who isn't, and where does that leave them in the scheme of things, be that $15 an hour or $15.50 or whatever the permutation could be. So I would say, Mr. Chair, that I would imagine that could be easily handled going forward in the budget processes as part of that kind of declaration and disclosure.
Yep, thank you. Okay, are we ready to vote on introductory number 414?
Move it.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Madam Clerk?
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you. Someone asked me before I adjourned this meeting, they said, are your city council colleagues gonna miss you? I said, I don't know if they will, but being that this was my longest city council committee meeting that I've ever had in 3 years as being chair of city council finance, I think I'll be missed. And with that, if there is no other business to come before the city council finance committee, we are adjourned. Sorry, Chairman Patterson of MBD, we ran way over your time. So I'll take it for you.
It's all okay. It takes as long as it takes. At this time, I call the Neighborhood and Business Development Committee to order, and I ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Patterson.
I'm here.
Councilmember Lupien.
Here.
Councilmember Melendez.
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Here.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, so let's get to it. Introductory number 426, authorizing the sale of real estate and amending ordinance number 220-137. So here's what's kind of cool about this. The gentleman who's looking to buy this property has been cutting hair over on Central for the last 20 years. And he's looking to buy this property and build a structure. And I just find that kind of impressive, and it seems like the kind of thing we should be doing. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on this item? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by Councilmember Lupien, and now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye.
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 All opposed to the item, please say nay. Introductory passes. Introductory numbers.
Affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 427. Authorizing the sale of real estate and maintenance agreements related to 40 and 42 Commercial Street. We need to
Aye.
amend. Wait.
Oh, go ahead.
Wait a minute. We need to amend this item. This amendment decreases the purchase price from $385,000 to $377,000 and changes the lot size of a portion of 42 Commercial Street. So we need to amend the item. Let's amend the item and then have a conversation about the item and then vote on the item. So I need a motion to amend the item.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by
Second.
President Scott. And now we vote on the amendment. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye.
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 All opposed to the amendment, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay. Amendment passes. Clerk, do you need to record the amendment?
I will, yes. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupien voting no.
All right. And so now, questions, comments, and concerns on the item as amended. Councilmember Lupien.
Yes, I am asking to hold this legislation. The question that I asked during agenda review was, won't this land appreciate in value after the Inner Loop North infill? And the answer that I got back was that they won't connect because of the CSX bridge, and that the price is anticipated to increase. However, there is a proposal that I was shown and others have been shown. I'm not sure, Councilmember Patterson, I encourage them to reach out to you, that would build a bike infrastructure that would connect the two spaces. And there's a potential for kind of like a Highline type bike way that I'd like us to review. Because I think should that happen, that the area would actually increase significantly in value. And I think I'd like us to do the due diligence to just review that before voting on the item.
May I intercede or just give some information?
Please, Commissioner Jones, please.
This area is 4050 Commercial Street. It's basically a parking lot connected to the Gorse Line building. There's easements associated with that for RG&E to deal with their hydro generation. A bicycle connection there is not in anyone's plans. There are some plans dealing to the north of that, dealing with the Ponte Bridge, the High Falls Terrace Park, the Brewery Line Trail, but it's not contiguous or part of that parcel on Commercial Street. The Commercial Street property is closer to the old Saddle Ridge location where the entertainment is. It's strictly a parking lot.
I do realize that, and I'm not sure if the proposal for the bikeway that would have gone underneath has been shown to you, but I'd just like us to review it. I see your face, it's telling me no.
No, I'm just thinking, that's interesting to have the bikeway going underneath that.
I thought it was very interesting too, and I just like us to consider it.
It's interesting, but to be totally honest with you, not very practical, and it'll be so costly to do. You're talking about tens of millions of dollars to go under that, to do that. And
well,
part of the plans that are going on, it's connecting the actual bike paths from another location, and that's part of the Interloop North program. And we've been going through the different types of plans and different types of options. And that was not been one of the options with all the civic and public engagement that we've been dealing with.
No, you're right. It hasn't come from Bergman, I think is the one that's doing the design. But I know in one of the options, I'm not sure if it's 6 or whichever one it is, you know, the one proposal is to kind of remove the road infrastructure to connect to 490. And I think the idea is while you're in there, doing this kind of the bike infrastructure wouldn't add that much to it, but I would love to get your thoughts on it.
I'm just saying, you know, for the record, anything that goes on with the Interloop North conversion would not have any impact on this parcel here, in my professional opinion.
Any other questions, comments, or concerns on this item? Seeing none, whose district is this in exactly?
Well, Jose, right?
Oh, Mr. Yes.
Would you like to weigh in, sir, at all?
I'm good. I think that Commissioner Jones explained it perfectly.
Okay. All right.
I'm going to send it around anyway.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, colleague, I'm gonna move this one.
I hear that.
So do we have a motion in a second?
Yep.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, seconded by
Second.
Okay, seconded by President Scott. And now we vote on the introductory. All in favor of introductory number 427, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed to introductory 427 as amended. Sorry, I forgot to say that for the earlier part. Please say nay.
Nay.
Introductory passes. Madam Clerk.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-1 into the record with Councilmember Lupian voting no.
All right, introductory number 428, authorizing a lease agreement for 61 North Chestnut. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Melendez, moved by Councilmember Lupian, seconded by Councilmember Melendez. And now we vote. All in favor of the item, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed to the introductory, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 429, authorizing a sublease agreement for portions of 300 Exchange Boulevard. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lupian, seconded by Councilmember Melendez, and now we vote. All in favor of the introductory, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 430, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing an agreement for the Land Bank Acquisition Rehab Program. Questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Lupian.
So the question I asked in the agenda review, I don't feel like was answered. The question that was answered was what AMIs will be targeted. But the question I had, and maybe it's hard to articulate, but even though people who are income qualified are the only ones who can apply, will the price be affordable to people whose income is in the AMI range?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we want to set people up for success. So it's about, making sure that the price is in line with making it affordable for that resident. And that's always going to be a goal that we strive to achieve. I mean, we don't want to set people up to fail. We want to set people up for success. So we're going to try to get that so where whoever's moving into any of these places they're not paying more than 30% of their income towards the costs.
That's great. And then the second thing I'd like to say is kind of my spiel, understanding that, right now, the properties are not specifically going to be put into a land trust, but I would highly recommend exploring houses doing that, because houses that receive this significant subsidy, if they're not placed in a land trust, basically the subsidy is for that one family only. And when they sell, they take that subsidy with them. With the land trust, the family is earning generation, is building generational wealth by not having to pay rent and building equity. And they take with them a percentage of the market increase, but not the full value. And certainly if my home, I think, is a great example. I bought it through Home Rochester for $69,000. This market is crazy. It's now valued at 120. If I sell it for that, I walk away with all that money. And if it were in a land trust, I'd be able to take some of it with me, but the rest of it would stay with the house, and that would be able to benefit the most amount of people with the subsidies that we give. So thanks for listening.
So yeah, we fully understand, appreciate that. We're actually trying to construct something that's a little better than land trusts in terms of profit, because we also want to build wealth for our residents, right? So this is not just about empowering people to become owners. It's also about building wealth for our residents. So we do want them to be able to have that experience of being able to have generational wealth by selling property. But you're right, we do have to set some reasonable expectations for how long you live there. And in the event that you sell prior to that end date, let's say it's 15 years, there's got to be some cap, if you will, on, what that anticipated wealth gap would be. Because we absolutely want people to be able to, we also want people to be able to sell them and have diverse income folks moving into all neighborhoods. So it all kind of works together, but we hear you, and we're focused on that.
I'll keep pushing.
Just as a comment, we routinely build, question and comment, we routinely build time-based clawbacks into these types of programs, don't we, Commissioner?
We do, and there will be in this one as well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions, comments, or concerns on this item, on this introductory? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilmember Melendez, seconded by Councilmember Lupien, and now we vote. All in favor of the introductory, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 431, authorizing the mandatory agreement related to the Aging in Place Home Food Distribution Program. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lupien, seconded by Councilmember Melendez, and now we vote. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 432, authorizing an agreement for development services for the Bull's Head Revitalization Project. Questions, comments, or concerns? I have a comment. So, and some of you have heard me say this before, so I'll say it again. There is an amazing Black developer who is doing tremendous work in Buffalo. The work that he is doing is not, I don't characterize it as affordable housing. I characterize it as housing that is affordable. He's doing work in Buffalo. He's doing work, where else is he doing work? He's doing work in Baltimore. He's doing work all over the country. He is doing absolutely amazing things. He was part of the other group that applied for this opportunity. My question is the administration doing anything to bring those groups together to increase the viability and opportunity that is before us?
So, I can't speak to whether or not Dawson is going to partner, with that particular entity. But certainly, this whole project, like all of our projects, will be done with an equitable lens. One of the reasons why Dawson was selected, as you know, is because they have a history of looking at a project that's complicated as this one and doing it the right way through an equitable lens. It was a competitive process. The committee did feel very strongly that we selected the strongest group, and we'll see how it goes. We'll just keep monitoring the process.
All right, fair enough. Any other questions, comments, and concerns on this introductory? Seeing none, I need a motion in a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember, who was that moved by? Councilmember Melendez?
Yes, sir.
Seconded by?
Yeah.
Seconded by Councilmember Lupien. And now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 432, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
All right. 433, approving the commitment of funds for a housing trust fund. Outstanding and fabulous. Questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember Lupien.
I got a comment.
All right.
Outstanding and fabulous.
Somebody I know between the two of y'all, somebody got something to say. All right, Councilmember Malay.
I just want to say that, this particular work has been moving very steadily along. The group has been meeting every 2 weeks, plugging away. A lot of work has been done. I know that there's still some more work to clarify before we have a structure, but in terms of the excitement around this, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for housing development in the city as a result of this housing trust fund. So I just want to commend the administration, commend everyone who's been working on this. Leah has been leading the charge for our group. Thanks, Carol Wheeler, for all your work as well. Just been a great process for me. So thank you.
Councilmember Lupien. Nothing?
You didn't hear my comment?
No, go ahead.
I said tremendous and fabulous.
All right, wow, okay. All right, any other council members that want to jump up and go woohoo, or are we good? That's everybody? Okay, and so now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 433, please say aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 434, authorizing the payment in lieu of tax agreement for the Canal Street Apartment Project.
Can't hear you,
Questions,
Mike.
comments?
Can't hear you.
Introductory number 434, authorizing payment in lieu of taxes agreement for the Canal Street Apartment Project. All right. We got any questions, comments, or concerns on this? All right. Just as a side note, Councilmember Harris, it's in your district. Councilmember Gruber, it's around the corner from your house. Okay. All right. So
I'd like to say I had a look at the site, and I'm looking forward to this project. This would be a very good project to,
sounds
for the
good.
folks who's planning to live in it.
Fabulous. All right. Well, in that case, we need a motion and a second. We got a motion from Councilmember Melendez, and we need a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Lupien. And now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 434, please say aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 457, authorizing inventory agreements for the zombie and vacant property remediation and prevention initiative, round 2. Questions, comments, or concerns? Seeing none, need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lupien, seconded by Councilmember Melendez, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 457, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
All right, introductory number 459, resolution approving appointment to the Zoning Board of Appeals. Questions, comments, or concerns? No questions, no comments, no concerns. All right, now we need a motion and a second.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Melinda, seconded by Councilmember Lupien, and now we vote. All in favor of introductory number 459, please say aye.
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 All opposed, please say nay. Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
With there being no other business before this committee, we now stand adjourned.
And I would like to take no break and call the Parks and Public Works Committee to order. Will the clerk call the roll, please?
Yes, sure. Councilmember Gruber,
Here.
Councilmember Evans,
Present.
Councilmember Pio,
Here.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Here.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Clerk Washington. Let me start out. Commissioner Jones, I saw the news the other day, and I just want to say it has been a pleasure to serve as the committee chair while you've been commissioner. I'm sure that there'll be plenty more opportunities to thank you for your service, but I want to take the chance to do it the first time. So thank you very much. And say it again.
Merci beaucoup.
Indeed. I wish I could speak French back to you. So we're going to start out with introduction number 435, appropriating funds for the Minister Franklin D. Florence Civil Rights Park. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 436, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing agreements for downtown tour boat service. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 437, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds and authorizing agreements for the Broad and Allen Firehouse kitchen renovation and exhaust hood upgrades project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 438, a bond ordinance of the city of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $249,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the Broad and Allen Firehouse kitchen renovation and exhaust hood upgrades project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 439, appropriating funds and authorizing an agreement for the Riverway Main to Andrews East project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion. Please.
So moved.
Moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 440, authorize appropriating funds and amending ordinance number 2021-20 relating to the East Main Street Bridge over CSX Trans Amtrak project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 441, a bond ordinance of the city of Rochester, New York, authorizing the issuance of $961,000 bonds of said city to finance the cost of the Hemlock Filtration Plant HVAC upgrades project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I will take a motion.
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 442, authorizing an agreement for the Hemlock Filtration Plant HVAC upgrades project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it. Move it.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 443, authorizing an amendatory agreement for the Rundell Memorial Library Exterior Building Repairs Project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
Been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 444, authorizing an agreement for the Goodman Firehouse Improvement Project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
So
Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 445, appropriating American Rescue Plan Act funds for the spring 2022 lead service line replacement program 2A project. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move it.
Move it.
And
Second.
moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 446, authorizing an amendatory agreement for occupational environmental core training services. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Move it.
It's been moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introduction number 447, authorizing an agreement for energy program support services. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll take a
Move it.
motion. So moved
Second.
and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
And finally, introduction number 465, a resolution to identify and rename public spaces named for slaveholders. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Councilmember
Oh.
Patterson?
Yeah, I got some questions. So look, 100 years ago, shortly after the earth cooled, I was in the 7th grade and I attended Nathaniel Rochester Community School. This school was named for the gentleman who founded Rochester. And the school district decided that they realized that this gentleman was a slaveholder, an avowed and known slaveholder, far and wide, for sure, a slaveholder. And they decided that that name could no longer grace a building in the city of Rochester. Okay. They changed that name and they had the right to do that, and I commend them for their action. You submit a resolution here calling for us to rename parks that were named for slaveholders. And I commend you for doing that. But I just have to ask, if having in the past been a slaveholder is an offense so egregious that your name must be stricken from various structures and items, and I agree with that, but yet we live in a city that is named for a slaveholder. So if, comparatively speaking, the naming of a park for a slaveholder is a speck, and the name of the city, which is also named for a slaveholder, is a plank, why do we not consider the plank as we consider the speck? And that is just a question to the body.
Okay, I don't think anything in this resolution precludes that conversation from happening. I think that renaming a city requires a whole lot more of deliberation and process. This is simply about asking our city historian to continue to do the research that needs to be done to make sure that we are naming places after folks who have been on the margins of history and deserve to have their names on in the narrative that everybody sees each and every day. If you, Councilmember Patterson, since it's clearly something that you're passionate about, wanted to begin the process of renaming our city, by all means, that's not what this resolution is about.
Okay, but since you're interested in renaming the park to the body, would folks be opposed to renaming the city? That is the question, to the body. As you consider this item, understand that you are walking down a path. And and I'm not opposed to it. I'm all for it. But I humbly submit to the body, if it's inappropriate and unacceptable that a park be named for a slaveholder, we have a city that is named for a slaveholder. So are we prepared to walk that path? And this, if you vote for this item, this is the first step on that path. I just humbly submit that to the body, and I'm going to vote for the item when it comes to the full council. But I would like to hear some debate from my colleagues. Where y'all at? What's your thinking?
Mr. Chairman.
Vice President Lightfoot.
Yeah, I'd love to thank you, Councilman Patterson, for throwing that pitch, brother, because I'd love to weigh in on this topic. As a member of the Racial Equity and Leadership Council, this is something that I think I agree with you. I also too will support the introductory. However, I think that we have to realize that when we start taking these steps, that we got indigenous people that are even more. When we talk about righting wrongs, we have to really look at what we're talking about doing. In other cities, they have given property back to individuals who have been wronged historically. I think if we look at the hallways of City Hall, we ain't got to go to the park. We can look outside our office and we see depictions of pictures of people who potentially, now, if we do the history, if we have the historian digging, I don't think they got to really dig too deep to see some of these people that have been put as idols, so to speak, and as folks that we're supposed to be looking up to, that are in the hallways of our very esteemed building that we work out of, have some very dark history too. So I think I agree that as we continue this conversation, I'm sure we can't finish it all tonight, but that we need to look at, when we're talking about righting wrongs here, we need to, when we go down that road, that we also include the indigenous people, because a lot of this land belongs to them. And if we really want to have equity, then we have to look at that too.
Fully agree. I'm actually I understand your request, Councilmember Patterson, to have some debate and dialogue on the floor right here, but I actually think there's a time and place for us to have a debate and dialogue about this. And this is actually just a resolution to ask the city historian to continue to do some work. There will be plenty of time for debate and dialogue about this. Doesn't say any names are going to happen. It doesn't say one thing or another. It is about making sure that we are in line, asking our city historian what we want her to work on. So I would respectfully ask if people have questions, comments, or concerns about this resolution for us to talk about it, but let's not have this debate and dialogue without having a meeting with the city historian as well after the resolution is passed.
Well, wait a minute, but your section 3 of the amendment of the item, you're looking to submit an official map amendment to rename Charles Carroll Park for, you've shortlisted 2 names, and then you've got another one. So,
it's not shortlisting names, Councilmember Patterson. It's giving examples. President Scott, you look like you're about to say something.
Examples. There's a saying, I can't get it all together, but something like the longest journey starts with the first step, something like that. So that's what I believe we're looking at here, to start doing the work. Look at it, talk about it, debate it. And this sort of puts a pin in the map to say, this is where we want to start. We want to start talking about this, moving this forward.
And I'm not opposed to that, but I'm also saying, look, again, parks are nice. Whole city's named for a slaveholder. The whole city.
There's no argument about that. And
Okay.
there's a lot of stuff. There's a big photo painting above the elevator in City Hall of Nathaniel Rochester. We know. We know. And it's something, the type of information we all know, we just haven't done anything about. This is something I want to motivate us to begin looking seriously at it and taking the first step towards that journey.
And I'm not disagreeing with you, but this is what you get when you start down the path. And again, to the body, hey, y'all, yeah, let's all vote for this. But at the same time, the whole city's named for a slaveholder.
I have a comment
Councilor
on this
Patterson,
legislation.
We've heard you. Go ahead, Councilor Lupien.
Thank you. I just wanted to say for this legislation, it may seem like something small, when we have huge issues. I don't think anyone's denying that. But what I think that this is a great thing to do, and again, I hear, I hear where we're going, and I'm with it. Is that when we do actually start teaching our children the true history of our leaders, of our past, and the harms that have been caused, and then they see a park in our city or our whole city named for these same people, I think it sends a message. And I don't think it's one we want our kids to really internalize. And so I definitely support starting this journey. I support opening the conversation of how do we walk the walk when it comes to what our city is named, who is, whose portrait is above the elevator, and I think just to submit, I think it would be interesting to take the tack of what happened with the Take It Down committee and the carousel, keep the painting, but put, a plaque explaining, so that it doesn't send the wrong message and it continues to educate. But I'm here for this whole conversation, and I'm glad this legislation is going through.
And it is my hope that some other council members would say something one way or the other.
I'm down to say something.
I'm hoping. I was counting on you, Jose. Councilmember Pio.
Why?
Councilor Pio, go ahead, because I'm about to move this to a vote. So please, by all means, Councilor Pio.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I get it, and it really to the vast majority of people, I don't think they even think twice about the name. I don't think they know the reason behind the name. I don't think they care that much. I think there's some people out there who are making it a bigger issue, and that we're listening to them, and that's fine and dandy. But when it comes to spending that money to change the name, if you look at California, the Sumag Park, that took tens of thousands of dollars to change the name of one park. Now, just to change the name, because there's a lot more than just changing some signs that goes into it. So if we asked the community, listen to the people that live there, not the people that live, over on Park Ave, they're complaining about a park that's in the, Southwest. Ask the people that live in that area, how do you feel about this name? Okay, we're about to spend maybe $10,000 on this. You can do that, or we can give your community association $10,000 to do whatever they want with it. I guarantee the people will say, give it to the community. That's my input.
Well, it's great that we're going to be able to have some really robust conversation and process about this. I'm going to move this to a vote now, and if it does pass, and it does pass on Tuesday, I will take the initiative to organize a meeting with the city historian. We have professionals who do public history for a living, to bring them to the table to help guide some conversation around this. But for now, I'm going to move it to a vote by asking for a motion from the floor.
Move to adopt.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay. Nay, did you hear me?
Yeah, I heard you. Clerk Washington, do you need a roll call on that? Or are you good?
No, I believe I have it. The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 4-1 into the record with Councilmember Pio voting no.
Thank you very much. That concludes the work of the Parks and Public Works Committee. Commissioner Jones, anything you want to add on your last committee meeting here?
It's been truly an honor to serve, and I love the discussions, and it's been truly an honor, and I thank each and every one of you for your commitment to the city of Rochester, as I will always stay committed to the city of Rochester. So thank you.
Thank you very much. That
Chair
concludes our
Jones,
business.
I actually just want to say I've really enjoyed getting to know you and working with you. And you're one of the most dedicated people at City Hall. And if I've got a problem, I give you a text or a call and you're on it before we've even hung up the phone. And I just want to just highlight your service to the community and thank you.
Let us remember those words Tuesday.
Yep.
That's
to be
true. We got
continued.
one more time.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Mary,
right,
Mary, none of your calls, none of your questions are problematic. They're just questions. And when you have a question, you should ask. And it's not a bother. And I just love being able to answer questions. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. That concludes the business of the Parks and Public Works Committee.
Okay, I had got kicked off for a minute, so I had to log on my phone. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. At this time, I'd like to call the Public Safety, Recreation, Human Service Committee to order. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Sure. Vice President Lightfoot,
Present.
Councilmember Gruber,
Here.
Councilmember Harris,
Here.
Councilmember Pio,
Here.
President Scott.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Introductory number 448, authorizing an intermunicipal agreement with the school district for traffic and crowd control services. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
Can I just, Vice President Lightfoot, can I go?
Councilmember Gruber.
Thank you. Can I just confirm, number one, that that RPD is only being asked to do traffic control outdoors at pre-designated events by the school district, and that the school board has voted in favor of this?
Do we have someone here from RPD or to you, Mayor Smith?
I want to say yes about the school district, the question about the school district's action, but why don't we get back to you on that? We'll have an answer to you shortly. We can all respond.
Vice President Lightfoot, I see someone else has a question.
Just let me know, because I only get 4 people on my Hollywood Squares on my phone. So I'm sorry. Just identify yourself and go ahead and speak. Unmute yourself.
So, okay, so
Councilmember Patterson.
So I have a grave, it is my hope that the school board, the Board of Education, has already approved this item prior to sending this request over to us. So,
Speaking to your mic again, Councilman Patterson, you're fading.
I would hope that the school board has approved this item prior to sending this over to us, given that they sent something similar to us last month and they had to go through a whole lot of things before they could get there. It's my hope that if they have not approved the item, that we could at least hold the item till Tuesday, find out if they've approved it or when they're going to approve it, and then possibly consider the item. I am in favor of the item. It is an issue of public safety, and I don't think that's anything hard or crazy for us to do, but I just find it troubling, or potentially troubling, if they've made a request of us that they have not, as a body, first approved.
So in lieu of, thank you, Councilman Patterson, and just to be consistent with our votes concerning these particular issue with the Rochester City School District and the board as it relates to last month, I agree with that. And I think we can get an answer by Tuesday. Is that correct, Mayor Smith?
Yes, I don't think that'll be a problem, although I would interject. I see that Deputy Chief Deborah Dwyer is on the call, and I'm not sure if she has anything to interject. I didn't see her here present earlier.
We can yield the floor to Deputy Chief Dwyer.
Thank you, Councilman. We do have an intermunicipal agreement that is signed by the superintendent of the school district.
Is that all that is required, Deputy Chief Dwyer? Does it require a vote from the board itself?
We would have to check into that, sir.
Okay, so what I will do is we will hold this item until Tuesday, until we can get a full, complete answer to whether or not this is ready to go on the school board side. And then we can pull it out of committee once we have that answer, if that answer is appropriate for us to vote to pull it out of committee, and we can do that. Does anyone else have any other question, comments, and or concerns on this particular introductory number 448?
Just one, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
The only thing, Mr. Chairman, I'm not sure of is I know from my previous time on the school board, their board meetings are always after the council meeting. So if they have that legislation and they're voting on it, they may not vote on it until their Thursday meeting, which is usually after our Tuesday council meeting, because their meetings are usually on the Thursday and ours are on a Tuesday. So I don't know if that will make a difference or not.
I would hope. I think last month, I believe that we did get a understanding from the President White, and we kind of got the green light, if I'm not mistaken. Councilman Patterson, do you recall the order of?
Yeah, I think that was it. The cycle was different, but at the same time with the introductory we have before us here, it states here that the term of this agreement is September 1, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. So even if, I don't think it precludes us from potentially holding it longer and just ensuring that this item has passed on their side, because apparently we're already in the term of the agreement. So I guess another question is, are we already providing the service?
We have provided the service on 2 occasions.
Okay, so I mean, we've been providing a service that we did not have a functioning agreement for. I find that troubling. Again, I'm still in favor of providing the service, but given how things went last month, I think it's imperative that we have a board-approved resolution from them before we agree to anything else. And whatever that time frame is for them to do that is on them. I mean,
we don't need to exhaust it, Councilman Patterson. I'm going to hold this in committee. We're going to move forward unless someone has any additional. Thank you, Councilman Patterson. Thank you, Deputy Chief Dwyer. We're going to hold this in committee until further notice. Thank you. Introductory number 449, authorizing intermunicipal agreement with the County of Monroe for funding of firearms instruction. Any questions, comments, and or concerns?
Move it.
If not, thank you. It's been moved. I need it.
Second.
It's been second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you. Introductory number 450, authorizing an agreement related to the training of firefighters. Any questions, comments, and or concerns? If not, I'll enter. It's been moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 451, authorizing an agreement for services related to the Summer of Opportunity Youth Employment Program. Any questions, comments, and or concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
Move it.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
All right. Introductory number 452, authorizing an agreement amending the budget for the MVP Health Care Community Grant. Any questions, comments, and or concerns? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Then second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
The clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Introductory number 453, authorizing agreements and amending the 2021-2022 budget for the 2021 Justice Assistance Grant Program. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns?
I have a question.
Councilmember Gruber.
Yeah, in the Q&A in agenda review, I believe Councilmember Harris asked for an explanation of what Project Night Watch was, and the answer came back so there was going to be an attached one-pager that I never saw, and I don't think it showed up. I'm just wondering, can we get an explanation of what is Project Night Watch and what's different now from the past, I think, 15 years that we've been doing it?
We'll get you that one pager. The explanation would be coming from the county. It is not our program. It is a county program. So we'll make sure that you get that.
Any other questions, comments?
Sorry, Commissioner Lyman Torres, is there anything different about what it seems like we're doing things a little bit differently on the city's end from previous years? Can you just explain what's new?
So what we're doing is, we've made all of the changes to our crisis intervention services unit, and we've realigned our use of the funding to align with how we are now structured in crisis intervention services. So all of the funding is going to continue to support the work that we do, supporting victims of crimes and people who need support in that area. The thing that is the same is the county's program, which we will get you the explanation of.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions, comments, and concerns on introductory number 453? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Move it.
Been moved?
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you. Introductory number 454, authorizing agreement to update and redesign the Police Accountability Board website, rockpab.org. Any questions, comments, or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Been moved.
Second.
Been moved in second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Amending ordinance number, introductory number 458, amending ordinance number 2021-368 related to the Comprehensive Adolescent Pregnancy Prevention Program. Any questions, comments, and/or concerns? If not, I'll entertain a motion. Going once? It's been moved and second. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Introductory passes.
Clerk will enter the affirmative vote of 5-0 into the record.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Just a couple of brief things before we adjourn. First of all, I'd like to invite folks to a meeting immediately after this meeting, a Rock Against Gun Violence Coalition meeting. We will be having, will be also streamed on this same YouTube channel, our city council channel. Will be following immediately after this meeting. For those who want to be a part of that, you're more than welcome to come, and to the citizens that may be watching. I want to take a point of privilege to congratulate our first Hispanic in the state of New York, Fire Chief Felipe Hernandez. I want to congratulate you, sir, on your appointment as permanent Fire Chief of the Rochester Fire Department. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
And so I'd also want to take this point of privilege to really give heartfelt appreciation and deep kudos to Commissioner Torres. Dr. Torres has been a extreme honor and privilege. We've heard from other staff members, Commissioner Norm Jones, I could say enough about him as well. But Dr. Torres, you came on board and you had a lot on your plate. You hit the ground. Never seen you complain. I've never seen you balk. I've never seen you waver. And I've seen you stand as a strong woman. And throughout this pandemic, national pressure, and you stepped up to the plate. It seemed like, and every time you took on one thing, more was given to you to do. And you literally shifted the way that we do business in this city government, and to provide more human services. I came to you with ideas. I know Mary Lupe has came to you with ideas. A lot of times stuff may have seemed off the wall, but you just made it happen. You just really made it happen. You made it happen in record amount of time. And I just appreciate you. We're, a lot of talent, unfortunately. It's bittersweet to see some individuals leave, and you're one of those individuals, and there's many other that work with staff. But I just wanted to take an opportunity in a moment and give my colleagues also an opportunity to just let you know how much we appreciate you, how much the citizens appreciate you. And you can really tell a leader in crisis. That's when you can really determine a real leader, is how do they lead in crisis. Anybody can lead in quiet, in peacetime. But when you're in wartime and when you're in crisis, that's when you can really gauge a true leader. You are a true leader, and I wanted to take the opportunity to let you know from the bottom of our heart how much we appreciate you. Any other colleagues? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a comment, and I'd like to say,
Councilmember Harris and then Councilmember Lupien.
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Torres, I'm very thankful for your service. You have been a pillar to your department and a driver of change, as Vice President Lightfoot has mentioned, a change for that department and for the things that we needed for this community. Thank you so much for your service and your dedication, and I wish you well in your future endeavors, as I know you will be successful.
Councilperson Lupien.
Commissioner, it has truly been a pleasure. I am always amazed at the work that you've done and the person that you are. I don't know if many people outside of government know this, but to pull off the PIC team from idea to implementation in 3 months is magic. And I so appreciate everything that you've done for the city and how you've been able to be a catalyst for real transformation. It's a loss to have you leave, but I know that you're going to contribute to our city in other ways, and that you're not that you'll still be around. So thanks again.
Anyone else?
I look forward to us sharing those kind words on Tuesday. We may have a small audience. We want everybody to hear about how great our departing servants are.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right.
I've got one question. It doesn't fit here, but I need to leave this here. So it may even go to finance. The police who work at Wegmans and who do other special events, I know that the city is reimbursed for that. Would somebody please check and remind me whether or not those salaries also include the increased retirement benefits that go with those jobs? And if you get back to me at some point, appreciate it.
We will do that, absolutely, Madam President. But Vice President Lightfoot, I wonder if I could interject something.
Yes, sir.
A sad item, but I would like to ask everyone to please keep in mind Chief Dave Smith and his family. Keep them in your hearts, thoughts, and prayers, as the chief's father passed away earlier this week. And I actually have another additional note that very sadly, we lost a member of our 911 Emergency Communications Department, an 11-year dispatcher, Craig Eric Warshowski. Craig died of natural causes, but nonetheless is a great loss to our team in 911. And I'd ask you to keep not only Greg's family, but of course, his colleagues at 911 in your thoughts and prayers and hearts as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We will do just that, Mr. Mayor. We will keep the Warchowski family as well as the Smith family in our prayers. But if there's no other business to come before the Public Safety, Recreation, and Human Service Committee, we are adjourned, Madam President.
So that, oh, wow. Do we have a public hearing?
No, we don't have any public hearing items.
Then we are adjourned. Our business for tonight is complete. Thank you all. See you on Tuesday.